Ooh. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is malsoaries, and this is my YouTube channel. In 2013, when I started my career in fashion, I started with a blog, and I named that blog The Dubois Dish. Dubois is my middle name, and I always wanted to incorporate it into something creative and something unique. Now I have the opportunity to bring the Dubois dish back to my YouTube platform. This will be a new segment on my channel where I'll discuss various topics, have special guests, and discuss anything that I feel is relevant to myself, to my community, and to my counterparts. This first episode is inspired by my experience working in the fashion industry. I've worked full-time in the industry for 6 or 7 years now. I've worked in retail management. I've worked in copywriting. I've worked in merchandising. Since the death of George Floyd, I have noticed a lot of brands of all kinds of industries start to make statements and responses to the current battle for racial justice and against police brutality. A fashion brand that I was recently employed by really disappointed me in their social media strategy on how to properly respond to the status of racial injustice in this country. Their response inspired the first episode of this segment, but it's not just me talking. These are former colleagues, these are friends, these are influencers, these are tastemakers, these are sales professionals, these are brand managers, these are content creators, these are designers, these are visual merchandisers. These are all people who I've come to respect not only in the fashion industry, but within our own personal relationships. I am proud to call each of these guests my personal friend, and I'm so excited that they joined me for this conversation. This is not an expose. This is not an opportunity to bash anybody or bash any brands. What this is an honest, genuine, peer-led discussion about what it's like being Black and working in fashion. If you can relate, if you pick up anything from this video, start a conversation in the comments and keep the conversation going. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And for now, enjoy episode 1 of the Dubois Dish.
Hey everyone, my name is Tyler Boyce.
My name is Nardina DeLeon.
My name is CALLEEA.
My name is Jay, as everyone calls me.
My name is Jasmine.
My name is D'Angelo Scott.
Hi, I'm Danielle.
Brittany Hughes.
My name is Antoinette and I'm a buyer. Retail, styling, buying, merchandising.
I've worked in retail for at least a decade now.
Copywriting.
I've been a visual merchandiser.
So pretty much every facet of the business.
I am a wardrobe stylist.
I work in textiles as a raw materials specialist.
Background includes fashion design, fashion styling,
Luxury retail,
production,
and I've done product development.
I am a key holder at a luxury brand.
I do content creation.
I am a apparel consultant.
Professionally, I manage a brand called Saludos in New York.
I've been in fashion now for about 13 years.
I am a designer.
I manage the Soho location and I manage our Brooklyn location.
I am an educator.
Wardrobing and styling.
I am your fashion fairy godmother.
I'm a visual merchandiser here in Los Angeles, California.
So let's just start by you explaining, reflecting, analyzing on generally what it's been like for you being Black and working in fashion.
So my experience has always been that I'm gonna go in there and be a hard worker and just be 100% myself, and wherever it's gonna take me, it's gonna take me. I haven't really had any terrible times besides customers as far as when it comes to race discrimination. I've never had any of that like directed to me. Now, have I heard it? Yes.
Being Black in the fashion industry is as expected. So with that comes challenges, and challenges when you're communicating with your counterparts. It is something that's obvious to the world and obvious to everyone who's involved, but not too many people speak about it. So it's pushed under the rug, and we're viewed in a lot of ways as commodities.
But for me, and I was actually just talking to one of my good friends about this, so many people just assume that I'm like Hispanic or like maybe she's white in something. And I feel like a lot of times people will maybe like say things in front of me or kind of like test the waters in a way that they wouldn't with other people. There's been times where I've been at work and I'm like, wait a minute, I identify as biracial, but also as Black, very proudly. So it's like, wait a minute, no. And because I am like very light and my features are like, you know, a little bit like softer, however you want to word it, people sometimes kind of test, or they're like, well, you're acceptable, you're different. And it's like, no, let's be very clear. You can't pick and choose. Like, I'm Black. You can't pick someone who's darker or like has stronger features and say like, no, they're not acceptable, but you're acceptable. So I feel like that's kind of been my experience.
My first like retail job was Urban Outfitters. I always said I would make it to Madison Avenue, and this is when Madison Avenue was a thing. I have two things going, not necessarily against me, but that I have to remind myself constantly. A, I'm Black, and then B, I'm gay. Automatically, when you think of fashion, you think of these queer men and women who work in the industry who kind of give it a life. But there's been many instances throughout my career where I'm like, am I a valued employee or am I the token Black guy?
I would say my worst experience was in retail. I dealt with attacks from both management and customers. And most of the time I got a lot of questions and just snippy comments about my appearance. I had yarn twists in once, and a woman, she made a joke about having her cat tug on my hair because it was yarn, or they would just ask me weird questions. I had a customer once ask me how I flat ironed my hair if I use an iron. You know, there's nothing you can do in those instances because you know that management is not going to back you up or support you in those type of situations because these are our customers. Our team was predominantly Black. We worked for a French brand in a department store. So I felt like a lot of the time the management would just come and check on us just to see what we're doing. You know, if I'm standing behind the register, why do you need to come over and ask me 5 times, what am I doing? You have your own teams and they never harass them the way they harassed us. As a leased company, you know, we did a lot of our work on the pad. They would ask us like, oh, why are you doing this here? Can you do this somewhere else? I couldn't help but to think, are you doing this because we're a Black team? You know, like as much as we worked and as hard as we worked, it was never appreciated because it was always going to be an issue with what we did. Why do you keep coming over to tell me what's wrong about what I'm doing instead of what's right?
There's an issue of perception. It's because we both experienced that in retail when we worked at that department store. At that store, I think all of the managers at that time were white. I started as a sales associate in that store for an American brand, eventually became a manager for a British brand. In both instances, it was comments and statements like, how is this going to look to the customers if you guys are gathered here talking? It would be the same stuff that other employees were doing, and we all noticed it. There was a different level of attention being brought to us and our group than there was to the white employees.
I hate that I had to validate myself and tell them, I have a degree, honey. I shouldn't have had to feel like that. And then when I finally decided to leave retail and go into corporate, it was another struggle because I'm a natural girl. So I had to always fight my appearance. I had to always feel like I had to accommodate how they viewed me in terms of like wearing my afro to an interview. As much as I'm proud of my afro, I know like I don't want to have that first impression at an interview because this is how my hair grows out of my scalp. I felt like I could not go to an interview as who I was. I have to give myself enough time to either do braids or some type of style that isn't intimidating to them.
And I think this has to do with the fashion industry specifically. There's an issue of perception. People see Black people at a luxury department store or working for a luxury brand. They think, you know, that we don't know what we're talking about. They think that we're gonna tell them off if they don't like something. They have a preconceived notion. There's always this different perception of Black people in fashion.
We're seen as a fad and as a trend at the moment. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, Black is in right now. So let's throw them on the covers. Let's have them walk down and run away. And she's gonna end my show this year. Instead of just like, oh, you just so happen to have 3 different Black girls, 3 different tones. One had short hair, one had long hair. You use our girls, and I say our girls as in Iman, Chanel Iman, Naomi Campbell's. Like, you use our girls to show how big your brand is and how fierce it is, but it's a token. So it's just ironic that a lot of the houses don't acknowledge inclusion, and they try to present this false narrative. We have to come in and say, like, actually, this is what it looks like, and I'm that shit. Like, you know, like, you really have to work harder to even prove, like, when really you could have just been involved.
So I don't know what I want to wear today, but I think I'm in an all black kind of mood. Let's check my closet. What do I have? No. So this is gonna be a process, but we'll work through it.
So how do you think the industry has responded with their brand messaging via social media in response to the police brutality, the battle for racial justice? How do you think brands have been responding as a whole?
I want to say poorly, because this is not just a one-time thing. The death of George Floyd is not something, unfortunately, that as Black men and women that we are shocked to see. It's almost like a numbness in our community. We definitely still care. And, you know, it's heartbreaking to see another Black man dealing with the same thing. But, you know, I had to go to work after the death of Philando Castile. I had to go to work, you know, after the acquittal of Trayvon Martin's killer, after, you know, Zimmerman just walked away. So for me, it's an overall poor response, because they're not awake. They don't know what's going on. And I also worked when Trump was elected. There hasn't been posts. There weren't posts about Trayvon Martin. There weren't posts about Eric Gardner. There were no posts about Sandra Bland, unless it is a Black-owned brand or, you know, a Black-owned media company. It's mute.
Ooh, do you really want my opinion? I think that from the social media side, for all the people that are making statements and doing it, I want to see the action behind it. Are you going to start hiring more Blacks? You know, is it going to be like these people making decisions like within the companies?
No one has the right answers, because what I think is right, you think is wrong. There's so many ways you can pivot around this, and it's so hard because everyone wants to say the right thing, but sometimes the accepted thing is the wrong thing, whether your message or intent be, this is what we stand for. Put one word in there, it could throw everything off, so you don't know what to say. And especially with these brands, a lot of the people who are running these things are white people, so you don't understand what's going on. I myself spoke with the president and the owner and the CMO, which is the chief marketing officer at my company, because I felt I felt uncomfortable, but I felt a little disappointed in my company, because the statement that was put out was a little, like you said, lackluster. For me, it felt a little tone deaf. As an outsider, now I know these people and I know what they represent. And, you know, the president of the company, her parents were activists. They marched in so many protests and all these things. So I know where she comes from. But if I didn't know her and I saw that post, I would have been like, this company gives not one fuck about this. We had a conversation and she basically just gave me her insight on what, you know, behind the scenes, what they were feeling, what they were talking about, because no one knows as the right person what to say. I originally sent her an email telling her like, hey, listen, this is what I'm feeling as an employee here. Because when COVID happened, a lot of brands were like out there throwing their messages out there, just being really supportive and just being, you know, real comforting to social media. But when this happened, A lot of brands went radio silent, and a lot of people didn't say anything in the beginning. But because this is something that's not relatable to everybody, think about it. COVID it's an American, and then it became a global pandemic. So everybody is affected. Black Lives Matter is specifically to people of color. So Joe on the corner is gonna sit there and be like, well, that ain't got nothing to do with me.
I think the first point that you made that I didn't really think about, but I do agree with, is kind of like, nobody knows what the exact right thing to say is. Different people want to see different things. I feel like, personally, at least the minimum you could do is make a donation. Even with that, I feel like we're almost never satisfied with things. If it is a donation, then the next question becomes, okay, but what's the right amount?
There is no proper thing to say. It's like at a funeral. You can only say you're sorry. What more can you say? Oh, I've been there before. You can't justify anything. It's just the same when someone dies. So choose your words wisely. Even if you only say one fucking thing, just say Black Lives Matter.
We shouldn't have to teach you how to like represent Black people. It's 2020. Like, come on. You know how to market to Black people. You know how to sell to Black people. You should know how to represent Black people. There needs to be context. You can't just post a black box and say, oh, we're heartbroken. Like, what are you heartbroken over, first of all? Second of all, saying the word Black is not a bad word. Like, you can say that you stand up for Black lives and that Black lives matter, but also put your money where your mouth is. Because if you really genuinely and truly believe in it, then put some context behind it. And that was my issue with my company. It's like, you posted this black square. I very recently worked for you, so I know that your caption doesn't match your actions. So at the least you could do is, put, what are your initiatives? How are you moving forward? How are you changing? Because where you were wasn't good enough.
At the end of the day, I understand it's the business. Cross every T and dot every I. But some of these fashion houses who cater to the African American dollar, and you take our aesthetic, you take our culture, you take our looks, our features, everything from us. Now's the time for you to be active, loud. What I've found with some of these companies is that a generous donation, that's great. But then another thing that I have a problem with that, when large fashion houses feel like they need to contribute, the first thing they do is, we donated to the NAACP. That's your safety net of a charity to donate to because it's for African Americans. It's been at the forefront now of all of these charities that you could be donating to help out, bailout funds, Black Lives Matter, donating to George Floyd. But how about this? Let's start at the root. Show me your HR. Money goes. But if you really want to leave a legacy and a brand, you need to hire people that look like me. You need to hire people that understand Black culture. So we don't have the slip ups like Gucci did. Because if there was a Black person in the higher up or in the fashion design team, and they bring out a turtleneck that's pure Black with a red lip, I don't think you want to do that. But you see, that's the problem. You don't have that.
See, now some of you think gray is the new black, but that simply doesn't cut it, my dear. Let's do better. Excuse me, but allergic reaction to orange, because it's not the new black. Does this look black to you? Check your eyes.
Now that the spotlight is on us and on these issues about people with the color of our skin, I feel like it's so essential for leaders in every industry, but especially fashion, to advocate and to educate and lead by example. So I want to get your thoughts on Virgil.
Me, what I would do if I was in his shoes would be going dumb right now. I be going so hard right now that to the point where I'm like, okay, this amount of money added in my budget is going to this. And you get in this position where now your streetwear brand is now merged with such a powerhouse of a brand, and you take $50.
Whatever we do from now on, just as people, we have to remember that everybody else in this world who's been a minority has suffered. But if we want to change the suffering we're going through, we as a people need to do better for ourselves, because nobody else is going to help us until we start helping each other and start loving each other. And that goes for people in the position of power to do more. You know, brands at this point feel loyal to the dollar. And that's why customers will go online and shop instead of coming back to your store and being a repeat patron. Because you're loyal to the dollar, and making us feel comfortable is not important to you. Therefore, keeping your store open is not important to us.
For me, it's expected, because I never really thought that he was for us. He gives me this vibe of he wants to be down, he wants to have this aesthetic, and he wants to push the Black culture. $50? I'm unemployed, and I've been donating more than that. And that's something I've heard as a whole. He's someone whose career has been built on Black dollars. We want to support him. We were behind him when he became a designer for Louis Vuitton. But this is basically, you know, our payback. And I also believe that we as a people, we can't necessarily get behind every single celebrity. We can't get behind every influencer, because all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Of course, everybody on my staff is Black. And, you know, my production manager, she was really tight about it. And she was just going off like, ain't nobody buying Off-White no more. I was like, I wasn't buying Off-White before, honey. It was just like, that wasn't a brand that I invested in or gave my money to or anything. Because to me, do you even design for them, or do you just get like the yay or what's actually cool or not? Are you sitting there sketching out anything? Are you picking fabrics and stuff like that? I already don't necessarily support the brand as it is. So for me, it was just like, he was never nothing. I'm sorry. I know it was like a great accomplishment for him being the first Black person to be at Louis Vuitton, but it's just like, yeah, I own Louis Vuitton.
Everyone that knows me is gonna be like, you love Virgil, like whatever. But I have very mixed feelings. You know, like, you're in a seat that not many people are in. So you should be kind of leading this. It's kind of like the hat that you have to wear. I just don't think he did it in the right way. And then I think him trying to explain himself, especially the way social media is, it just like snowballed. Like, you're forever gonna be two Virgils.
The real girls who work in fashion know the tea. Have we really rocked with him in a minute? Like, come on, Virgil, you're embarrassing. How dare you? $50 is embarrassing, Mal. Come on, that's eyelashes.
First, I've always been disappointed in Virgil. He was that one Black guy that received validation from the white community and then forgot who he was. And that also shows with who he hires. So with his 50 donation, it really was a slap in the face, because here you have people dealing with COVID crisis, financial difficulties, donating way more. Your $50 does nothing. And it's not about begging for money, it's the fact that you felt proud to show us poor people you donated, and it was only $50. You could be hiring some of these youth that you're so inspired by instead of stealing their designs. It's just, he's doing exactly what they do with us. They're taking from us and profiting. I just feel like he's been doing that his whole career. What are you doing to fight as a Black man if you say that's what you are? And he does nothing. He contributes nothing.
Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're trying something, but it's a little busy. I'm looking for something a little bit more classique. Better. This is better. Simple, black, denim, but I think I can do better. I think we can all do a little better.
I want to get your opinion on an initiative called Pull Up for Change.
If you're not showing that you can come in here, go shopping, and feel comfortable and feel not harassed, then you're not doing your job as a company. I need to walk into a store and have a multicultural experience. I want to see an Indian girl. I want to see an Asian lad over there and shoot. I want to see a little bit of everybody, so that I know I'm coming into a place that is here to cater to all people. If I go into a store and it's predominantly white, I'm immediately gonna feel like they think I might not have money to shop here. So all companies should start releasing statements, making pledges that in our corporate office, we are going to have a more inclusive system. Stop telling us that nobody's applying for these jobs. That can't be true. I've worked in retail for 10 years, and I've seen the best of the best in management teams that have been Black, Latino, Asian, Hispanic, Indian, you pick it. I've seen the best of the best. And their next move should be corporate. Their next move should just not be another JCPenney.
I love that she just took to Instagram and she was calling out Pretty Little Thing and Revolve and all these brands that definitely benefit on the Black aesthetic, but they were all of a sudden silent, and especially Fashion Nova. So, you know, this is a brand that we just pump money into. The Shade Room is a Fashion Nova partner and all this. I wasn't surprised to hear about Reformation because I've heard a lot of things about them. I've been into their store in New York and I was just like, okay, this is not for me. Like, it's not for me. You know, Reformation's been around for a while, but you guys are small companies. So 1% is a drop in the bucket to me. That means you probably have one member on your team. As Black people, we have to ask these questions. When a brand is interested in us, whether they're interested in employing us to be their managers or be their executives or even a part-timer, or they're asking us to create content for them. These are all things that we're passionate about, and we should be asking these questions. Am I going to be this 1%? Am I going to be part of this 15%? Or do you truly care about keeping Black employees happy? Do you care about what they think? Do you care about their opinions? Do you want them at the forefront of your brand? Or are you just meeting a quota?
When you're under a microscope, it's going to force you to do better and do these things. I want you to do it willingly. It's then in that moment will you see the brands who are really for us and who are against us. I don't want smoke and mirrors. I need to know who our allies are. I need to know who I can count on, who I know that if I work for you, I'm just not a quota, but I'm actually a valued asset to your brand and to your company. Because at the end of the day, I'd rather you just be real and keep it how you want it, so we know where to take our money.
That's what I want to see personally, and I am encouraged right now, and I see a lot of positive things about supporting Black businesses, supporting Black brands. Speak on that a little bit and how you feel like we can do better supporting each other and supporting Black fashion brands, because I also want to add really quickly, I love supporting Black businesses. I love supporting Black brands, especially in fashion, whether you're new, whether you've been around for years. However, like, I want us to support each other, but I also want us to encourage each other to do better ourselves. If you're gonna put something out, let it be of quality. Let it be of excellence. Let me order something and feel proud of what I'm getting. Let me be proud that I'm on your site or on your page or watching your video, even myself as a new content creator. So what do you think about that?
I'm so glad that you even mentioned that. Like, it's great, but it's also a responsibility, and it's beyond brands. If you happen to know that there's a guy, a Jamaican around the corner that got his own dollar store, you just walk a mile further, just go to him. If he cool and he got the product, just, you know, take that extra step to, you know, support. But also, like you said, and it's something that I've learned to share with my brothers and sisters, because I'm big on customer service. That's my background as well. And it makes all the difference when you know just how to make the customer feel a certain way, you know, and you supporting Black businesses, give them a little slack. And maybe just say, especially if it's somebody younger to you, and say like, hey sis, you know, next time maybe you could do this, do that. Unfortunately, we're harder on ourselves, believe it or not, than other retailers. We almost looking for a problem when we go into a Black-owned business as a Black person, because we already know usually something is off or something is wrong.
I went online to look up Black luxury brands, right? Because maybe there are brands out here, before I start bashing people, maybe there are brands out here that I know of but didn't know they were Black. So like Prior Moss, I didn't know that was Black. It's a cute brand. I didn't know the Heron Preston was Black. You can shop that. The price point is better. It looks just like Off-White. And that's what you can do instead of shopping brands that you don't feel like support. So for a lot of Black brands, you do have to find that brand that fits your price point, that you like the stuff, and you need to just go and support it. From now on, if I'm shopping, I have to also include Black brands. That is what I need to commit to my people.
Right now, everyone's gonna try to be inclusive. It's gonna be like this for a little while. I think to the end of the year, people are going to be like, okay, we're going to make sure we have Black presence. We have to make sure we have Spanish. They're going to make sure of that. In this very day, next year, that's now we have to see where that's at. Because if this time next year, it went back to how it was, there's no progress. The thing that we need to do is put more into ourselves, pour more into our businesses, more into our community. Because at the end of the day, yeah, our community is not billions of dollars rich like, you know, the white communities, but we can make it that. If we sat there and we really put our work on our own turf, we can turn this whole thing around. Should it be that? No. But you know what? I'm gonna show you exactly that I don't need to be working for you to make this happen.
Now, as you can see, my closet door is shut because I think we found the one. Look at this simple, classique dress. Wow. Let's take it outside.
Fashion is overnight. One day can be one thing, and the next day you're like, wait, literally a memory. We know this for a fact. I would physically need to see, when I'm on LinkedIn, that special little clause, when after you apply to something and they ask you, do you have a citizenship? Do you need a visa? What are you? Are you black? Are you white? Are you gay? Are you straight? What are you? I'll see it when I go into LinkedIn and it's actually on a search engine. I want to, because how would you really know? When's the last time you filled out an application and they actually made you fill out what your background was? Know your audience. I have nothing, you know what I'm saying? If you know this, then you know this. This is nothing new to anyone who's literally eat, sleep, and breathe this. Any person who's done this interview knows this.
How are you gonna know as an all-white team to look for them? So me personally, I've been trying to amplify Black interior designers, Black interior design brands, home decor brands, ceramic makers, candle makers, like in any way that I can, because I know that my previous company is paying attention. So I'm like, look, let me put it in front of your face. I can't force you to take it, but the more you see it, the more you'll be like, wait, we were missing out. Like, it's not even just giving a seat at the table. It's like, wait, we were actually missing out on a whole piece of like art and creativity that we could be working with and amplifying. So I think that's part of it, is just using our own platforms, our own Instagrams, YouTubes, like what you're doing right now, having these conversations. Like, we just have to keep having the conversation, not get tired. Like, it's great, post your content, post your coffee, post my, like, you know, my look of the day, but don't forget what we're here for. I mean, yes, I'm biracial, but let's be honest, like, I'm very light skinned. I'm not, you know, I'm not oblivious to that. I know that there are certain privileges that come with that. So if I know that there's somebody who's maybe even working harder than me or giving more looks than me, then I'm gonna amplify them on my story, on my page. I'm not gonna be a hater and be like, well, I'm not doing it, so you can't have it. Like, if somebody fits in that space, then I'm gonna push them towards it.
I know the value of my dollar. I know that because of the Montgomery bus boycott. That was the first example of how much that Black dollar means something. When them Black people said we'd rather walk than to give y'all ass a dime, that's how you know that our dollar is powerful. So just doing the research, everything I do is Black. My nails is done by a Black woman. My wax is done by a Black woman. Lashes, a Black woman is putting the lashes on my face. Okay? Hair, everything I do is Black. It's been that way for a long time. I got a Black accountant, I got a Black lawyer, I got a Black business coach. I don't necessarily have to shop brand per se to get what I want, but I shop at a Black boutique. I ain't gotta go to Fashion Nova, because even if it's cheap, I'm gonna go get it from my Black girl with her and her cheap dresses. Like, you know, I feel like there's an avenue for pretty much anything you want. We Buy Black is located in Atlanta. They also have a page. They have a resource for everything. He had Black deodorant, Black lotion, a Black cell phone company. So I think that is a great resource for Black owned companies. It's called We Buy Black. Just utilizing the resources that are available. Look beyond what we have on the surface and think about all the different things that you can do or that you may be interested in, that you can start on your own. And now is the time. They're giving us grants, loans, and everything underneath the sun. So now go ahead and start your Black owned car company. Get the parts. Do what you got to do.
Well, the girls have to sit together. There's only a few of us, and we're shrinking by the day. Stop looking at people's skin. Look at what they really know, because the knowledge, money talks and bullshit walks, and that's on period. That's exactly how I'm ended that. Literally, money talks and bullshit walks. Period.
So thank you for thinking of me and having me and holding me to such a high standard in some ways where I don't even see myself. My gratitude is beyond words. So I thank you for having me.
I'm so glad of what you're, like, the progress that you're making and just the things that you're doing. Like, no one's doing this. So this is another testament to just show you, like, you are such a creative person and you're such a powerhouse that I don't think you realize it. So I wanted to give you your flowers while you're still here to smell them. And I love you.
Thank you, babe. This was amazing.
Thank you for having me. I love you.
See, guys, it's that simple. All Black, very classic. Pop a Chanel purse, some snakeskin, and you're good. Anyways, I'm out and about, going about my day.